For the January 10th, 2023 meeting.
Oh, I do.
And at this time, if you would please stand for the invocation. Sammy Key will hold us the invocation.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us, this wonderful life that you've given us standing on the road to enjoy it. Help us to make the right decisions in this board member and let it be known that we are trying to help everybody and anybody. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I didn't print out Skip's letter.
I did not see Skip's letter.
I didn't print it out. Did you?
First of all, I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting for January 10 for the new year for 2023. Also, I would like to welcome on board the newly elected board members that had to run the last election: Tommy Matthews, James Baker, Kathy Reichert, Wayne Sellers, Vonda Ackerson, and Charlie Thompson. Welcome on board. Also, alternates, Stephanie Watson, Judy Brim, Mike Davis, and Amanda Cartwright. And all four of them are excused absence tonight. They all called in. Also like to congratulate the returning officers who didn't run, but who are returning back to the board. That's Terry Hester, Mickey Olson, Hilda Gilchrist, and Vicki M. So welcome on board. It's going to be a very exciting year. Thank you all. All right, so at this time, as we do every year, it's time to elect a chairman and a vice chairman. So I'll put it before the board. We need to have a nomination for a chairman and a vice chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we elect and appoint Glenn Hunter as chairman of the board.
You need a second? Is that a second?
I think we have a second.
There's a motion and a second. Okay, we'll call for vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we need a motion for a vice chair.
I make a
Thompson?
motion that we elect Tom Trammell as vice chair.
Motion to elect Tom Trammell vice chair.
I second it.
Second by Vonda Ackerson for Tom Trammell vice chair. Any discussion? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Tom, welcome aboard
We're
officially.
not gonna have to change the name on the doors.
Yeah.
Is there any pay?
Okay. Yes, you pay dearly, I assure you. We will have a roll call now. Hilda?
Glenn Hunter,
Here.
Vonda Ackerson. Here. James Baker.
Here.
John Bryan.
John called in sick.
Sassy Johnson.
Sassy's not on the board.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Sammy Keene.
Here.
Tommy Matthews.
Here.
Rick Palm.
Here.
Phil Ray. She's not
She's not on the board.
She's not? I didn't know that. Kathy Reichert. Here. Wayne Sellers.
Here.
Is that with an S or just
Sellers. S-E-L-L-E-S.
no apostrophe though?
No.
Okay. Charlie Thompson.
Here.
Tom Trammell.
Here.
Terry Hester.
Here.
Mickey Olson.
Here.
Vicki M.
Here.
Me. Bill Brim.
Here.
And the alternates are all excused.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to request the board to approve the excused members. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion we excuse all members who called in. I'll second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion?
Second.
We have a second. Tommy? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll move on now to the December minutes. Ready?
For the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Put his glasses on. Let's
Approve
get
the December
Wait a minute.
January agenda.
Let me do this. Did I say, yeah, this is January, but let me do this. Let's approve the agenda. So do we have a motion? I got it.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a second by Tommy Matthews, motion by Charlie Thompson. Any discussion on approving the agenda? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll move on now to the December minutes to approve. Gilbert?
What do I have to do? Move to approve the December minutes?
Well, we have the December minutes before the board, so
Yes. The
you
December
you
minutes?
constructed those, so
Yeah,
if there's any questions.
are there any questions?
As usual, Ms. Hilda did a fine job.
We have a motion, we have a question by Wayne Sellers.
You had me down here last week or last month. I was not a member, I was not on the board until this month, correct?
Thank you, you're right.
That is correct.
I will correct that on the
Okay, so
December.
I was not here and I did not.
That's
think
right,
I was supposed to start
that's right. There should be all for today.
here.
Yep, neither was James Baker, neither was, but Kathy Riker was
She was.
moved up in October, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. November, okay. All right, I'll make those changes, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda with changes.
Make a motion, we approve it with changes.
The second? Seconded by Tommy Matthews. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Secretary's report?
I have do you mind if I give this report? You've seen it. It's a little bit lengthy, I'll try to speed through it.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
As a first-year officer, I'd like to make a general comment that I'm surprised at the number of spirited and off-topic, sometimes unwarranted and unproductive complaints that take up so much of our meeting time. I do believe it's getting better, especially now that the elections are over. Our board members do deserve our support and gratitude for all they do to help improve and maintain Three River Estates. I've taken the liberty of summarizing the issues that have been brought up by residents of Three Rivers during 22 board meetings. This is my attempt to provide responses discussed and brought for consideration so there can be some closure to make way for more productive board meetings in 2023. I'd like to first thank our general membership for speaking up, especially when done courteously and thoughtfully. The issues brought to us I've broken into 3 tiers. The first tier are those that we already have rules, that if those rules are enforced, they resolve the issues. The second have rules that could be interpreted in a way that could assist in resolving the issue. And the third tier are those issues that need to be considered since there's little guidance on them. First tier issues are dogs at the parks. Dogs are not allowed in our parks on the Itch-Tutney Spring Run. They are accepted at parks on the Santa Fe, including camping, fishing, and Boat Ramp Park. However, people still bring dogs to Hodder Point and Midpoint. Members complain of feces on the ground, of being intimidated by dogs, of dog waste not being picked up, and of dogs not under control. This is a liability, and, we're really, TREPO is really liable if they do this. So they are violating a rule, and they really need to stop doing that. Some of the reasons we don't allow dogs in our popular parks are infantigo, which causes animal feces, which is caused by animal feces, and dog bites, which can cause long life effects. These are the rules regarding dogs. A, there is a leash law in Columbia County that applies to TREPO. B, dogs are not allowed at our TREPO parks on the Itch-Tutney. C, service animals are allowed in all of our parks if, 1, they are required for disability, and 2, if they've been trained to provide a service to their owner. D, dogs are only allowed at fishing park, camping park, and boat ramp park. At boat ramp, only to get in and out of the boat. Action, if a member encounters a situation where an animal is in the park and or not under the control of a leash, a warning and or removal from the park is required because they are breaking rules. Note, emotional support dogs are not considered service animals. Dog owners must bring their own poop bags and use them to completely pick up their dog's waste from all public spaces where dogs are allowed. 2, under first tier, is glass in the parks. Members have complained of glass on the ground because members are bringing glass containers. The action proposed is that glass containers are not allowed in the parks. Gate greeters and park managers have a right to request inspection of coolers, and anyone found with glass can be asked to leave the park and take their glass containers with them, please. Okay, then second tier issues are, there's 6 of them, I think. Yeah, I think I've got 2 number 5s, but it should be a last 6. Airbnbs have become issues in many communities, and TREPO is no exception. Some members argue that members are violating many of our protective covenants and ask for action to prohibit Airbnbs. Our chairman has noted that it may not be easy to do this since a precedent has been set. Jesse Crane has noted that we can control whether or not Airbnbs are permitted. Vonda Ackerson has noted that we are going to have somebody look at some recent laws. She knows that there are some stipulations if those rentals are under 6 months. Action to consider. We need to enforce restrictions and protective covenants. For example, in paragraph 13 below, it notes that businesses are not allowed and only one single-family dwelling shall be constructed on a lot in Three Rivers Estates. In keeping with the issue of rentals, the fact is that especially during the summer, our parks are experiencing many guests, including large groups. Some renters choose to expand their parties to friends in the area, and members have complained that it's just not fair that the Airbnb guests who don't pay a fee for park maintenance or membership be allowed to use TREPO parks. The action needed is we need to enforce our current covenants and restrictions. Owners must be present and board approval is required for groups of 12 or more. I include the paragraph that's in the covenants and restrictions. Three Rivers Estates allows only one single family dwelling on one lot, as noted in that covenant restriction, and permits are being provided by Columbia County for structures that may not be single family. Number 4, Columbia County is also allowing power and septic without site plans showing single-family homes, home sites of a minimum of 800 square feet, and then allowing mobile homes and mini houses to be brought into these lots. And number 5, people live in RVs for more than 6 months that are allowable. Now, some of these, of course, have a good reason, for example, if undergoing construction, but I'm talking about others. The action needed is that Columbia County code enforcement for Three Rivers Estates is complaint driven. Even then, they seem quite lax on enforcement. So, since they're complaint driven and we can't seem to do much about that, people need to email complaints to TREPO with the actual address of the address where the violation is occurring, so that the board can then make the complaint to the Columbia County Code Enforcement. It'll be signed by the chairman or the president so that the individual members are protected. Chairman should set up a meeting call with Columbia County Planning and Zoning and Code Enforcement Director Troy Cruz to discuss their policies and actions in more detail and see if we can get some better support from those guys. And then there's noise complaints, which at the beginning of the year were very many, and regarding noise from loud music at the parks. Fortunately, that has really, really wound down. Of course, we've got winter, but it was noted that Columbia County has a noise ordinance, and that those playing music should do so for their immediate group within 25 feet of the source. The third tier issues, you want me to stop and we'll hit the third tier next meeting?
No, continue, we'll come.
Third tier issues are dogs on the river. As we all know, dogs are not allowed to access the river from the Edgetuckney State Park for a good reason. Dogs will tear up river edge and vegetation. TREPO will allow a member whose dog is going to accompany him or her on a vessel to access the water through Boat Ramp Park, only if the dog is on a leash and the dog path is limited to going directly to or from the water. Tom Trammell suggested we consider a separate launch and exit area for those dogs, with dogs. Note, dogs can cause a lot, harm to the edge, and the other was a gentleman who came in front of our meeting and requested dogs be allowed in the parks and seemed, pleased that they are definitely allowed at fishing, camping, and boat ramp. 2, request to allow swimming at boat ramp area when no boats are present. The action taken, this suggestion was put on the website as a vote. The members went online and voted 158 to 152 that swimming should not be allowed. Kathy Riker, oh yeah, what? I think that's a typo by me. All right, so that hopefully has gone away. Park key access. It was noted that the master key with a code number is hidden somewhere in each of the parks. The management district and game commissioners have entry as needed, and someone was giving out that code number, and it was being used. So the action proposed is to consider changing the key location and/or require the park manager be contacted and allow him to be the key holder when someone needs access. Any comments on that?
On that, we're just gonna change the,
You have a
changing the
combination,
code.
so that would be the easiest
We're
thing to
changing
do.
the combination on it.
Not only Gags Swanee Reward Management.
They have their own, ours is just FWC is who the problem, that was the
Okay,
question.
perfect. Okay, changing the code for them. Issue 4 is illegal parking and river access is frequent from the entrance on 27 at Riverside. Floaters are getting in off the highway. As Charlie noted, we can only enforce no parking within TREPO property. So a lot of those cars park out in the right of way. We can't do anything about that, if they stay in the water. However, there's nothing that if they step into TREPO parks, they are trespassing. Now, I don't know how you can tell one from the other.
I don't either.
There's a lot of traffic that parks up in here, cause you can just look by the grass where they're parking there for some reason. I don't know what they're.
I agree with that, but the ones that are parking out on 27, that is state property.
Oh, yeah.
We don't own that property, therefore we can't say anything about it.
I'm talking about.
The river itself is state property. We don't own the river.
So can we ticket the people who are parking within TREPO though? Somebody?
We can't ticket anybody.
We can't ticket
We
anyone.
can't do it.
But if you can figure out a way to do that, when I get off the interstate after work, I need you to get rid of those cars. They've got all day to come by there, and they shouldn't wait till I get off work. It's the same thing, really.
No, I'm talking about, behind our sign there, the fence sign, and right there behind the rocks that we put in.
Yeah.
If you look at the grass tracks, people are parking up in there a lot.
Okay, let's look at the county's website, find out exactly whose property that is, and I believe that's all Duke Energy, actually. Now, if that's Duke Energy's property, all you can do is reach out to them and ask them if they want to put up a rope or something.
Yeah.
It's not our property. I can't say anything about who parks on other people's property.
Wayne, you have a comment?
Yeah, where Bill's talking about, we could probably get a big rock and put it there where they couldn't pull up.
Now, we could probably do that, and Duke Energy would probably allow us to do so.
Didn't we one year ask, Duke Energy and all about putting up some parking signs there one time?
I believe that we did, but I don't know what the outcome on that. They actually put the fence up to keep folks from actually accessing the river back that way.
Right.
We hadn't really been having a lot of problems on that other side. You got a right of way for it, that's a county road coming in, so you got a right of way, there's a easement,
60 feet.
whatever it is, coming off the center lines, at 60 feet, so it's 30 off the center. You've got DOT and you've got Duke, so,
That's why I was
we
just wondering
contacted
about
the, yeah,
Duke. I mean, we brought it up in the discussion one other time about some no parking signs right there on the Duke property. I think somebody contacted them or something.
Well, Utah, you know how Utah continues on right there?
Yeah.
That's just, I see trucks going through there all the time, all the time.
Well, that's not
we
right.
can contact Duke,
Again, not our
we can
property.
contact Duke out of
I
Tallahassee,
know, I'm just,
see if we can get some no trespass, if that's an issue.
oh,
But now,
I-
there's a limitation on where that property is though, because you become DOT and you become county. So you got
we're just
three,
making new entrances into Three Rivers is what we're doing.
right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so obviously that needs a little bit more work,
I'll call Duke.
okay? Thank you. Suggestion to let members provide more input. I think that Stacy Greco made that, suggestion, and I saw that she was here. We do put surveys on the line. It has been requested that we put a list of capital projects on the line and get comments from the general membership. I don't know whether that's been done yet, not yet.
I guess not.
But that's the plan. Request we post agenda 10 to 12 days prior to board meetings so member can decide whether to attend. I don't post any agendas.
That's me. So,
Okay. Anyway, those are all the action that's been requested, and general members are welcome to all meetings, and they can submit suggestions through TRIPA's website. Park use after sunset. Parks are closed with the exception of Camping Park, where only registered campers will be allowed after sunset. Have we put that in action where they register?
Yes, that was put into effect, 2 months ago,
Okay,
roughly.
Great. So,
Unfortunately, right now, with the cold weather, I mean, nobody's reserving a campsite, so we'll have to see how that turns out in the spring. We probably won't have any data until then.
okay.
Tommy, what do you think about doing that also with that pavilion? Because, a few people use it, and nobody else can use it, and they need to know if it's being used or not, if they're gonna plan something.
The pavilion
Did we add camping
At
park?
which part?
Camping park?
Did we add?
We did not add the pavilion at Camping Park. There's hardly ever anybody there, so
Well, I know.
it's always
but
been kind of first come, first serve. I mean, we can add it if you would like.
I would like that, that way
Yes, it is coming up.
whenever people come in and say, well, these people have been here all day long, 'cause I get that. Folks that live around there, and, I don't have any clue, what to tell them, Were they registered, or they, for this amount of time, or whatever.
So is that a good suggestion to,
Yeah, we can put that on there.
Well, the other thing, haven't we talked about more tables and benches at Camping Park or not?
Well, that was a discussion at a few meetings, yes.
Yeah.
But that's something me and you were gonna do a walk around
Okay.
and take a look at.
Or do you want me to hold off on adding that to the website until you do that walk around? Because, I mean, right now, if you only have a couple families that are even going to that park, if you add a few more tables, then you probably won't have that issue to begin with.
It's
So-
very possible, but we're doing that with all the pavilions, aren't we? Why would we leave that one out?
I mean, we're not doing it at Bridge, we're not doing it anywhere at Fishing, I mean, we're not doing it
at
everywhere.
Why'd we put numbers on them then?
Are we doing
Have we
a
added
point?
point?
We've not added, I
Point?
don't think we have added point.
so you're not reserving point at this point?
Yeah, we're not reserving point at this point.
Well, I just wondered why.
We might be later.
Can you add point on?
Sure, we can add point.
She said she has reserved it, like, just told me about it.
Alright, we'll add point.
Okay, we appreciate it. There's two
And
there.
find out about the picnic tables and let me know if you would still like to add
Yeah, that'll be
camping.
to,
Now, we do have reservations at camping for people to reserve a camping spot.
right.
But if you would like me to add a pavilion after you see how the picnic tables work out, then let me know. Or if you would like to divide it into camping spots, put a picnic table in
I
every
think we
camping
do
spot, I
need-
don't care.
Picnic table, there's no doubt, because of the fact people wanna camp out there, they don't have no place to put it. they don't have a place. You know, it's kinda like, you gotta bring your own tables and your own everything. And if it's gonna be a campground, you know, even if there's only one,
I think this year, there was some discussions about taking another look at camping park for other use and/or other uses, and we had contacted the management district because they're working on a couple of things for us right now, projects for us
yeah,
right
you and
now.
I had talked about that.
So,
Okay,
and
so
and they
those
are
are
looking
all
at the
coming
bank
here.
issue there, that is part of the big issue.
So that's all in here as well, a little bit later,
Okay.
so camping park, four-wheelers are flooding, and flooding have caused lots of mounds and depressions, it was reported. I believe, and makes it difficult to camp there. Depressions that are a minimum of 75 feet from the water have been filled as required. Illegal paraphernalia has been found. Action, drugs are not allowed in our parks. Members caught will lose their privileges. Camping park continued. People party till all hours, sometimes staying on the park without tents. People are cutting trees and leaving very sharp trunks. So that's when we decided to do the camping reservations 2 months ago. So if anyone reports people partying and they're not reserved as campers and they don't have camping gear, then they don't belong there. Some have suggested we no longer need a camping park. People are taking advantage of taking dogs there on a leash since dogs are allowed. So, and not much camping is going on in the winter. The action to be considered is a true dog park has been considered. However, fencing is not a good element in wetlands that flood. So it would just have to be leash only. You can't just let them run. But maybe we should get more input from the general membership.
I had a talk with the neighbor of camping park, the one that has the trailer up on the still, nice guy. We talked in length about how many people come and go in there after midnight. He said it's just outrageous sometimes. You know, UTVs, ATVs, I mean after midnight, not, well, I'm just saying.
So how are they accessing? Are they accessing it with a key,
Well, yeah, no, all it takes is one person
right?
with that group to open it up, and then they leave it open, and then maybe I'll find it next morning, or they'll lock it on the way out. That's-
So Bill, they would actually be in violation of the park rule, and if they remember, then they may be subject to being sanctioned.
Well, you know, the thing is, these folks that let people in, they just don't seem to understand they're letting in a person that's their guest, and it's their responsibility.
Right.
They don't seem to understand that or care. And so, the only way I can figure that is I need to ask the people that are in there,
Correct.
who let you in? And what their key number
But
was.
if it's after hours and they haven't reserved a
Can't we
camping
just-
site, you should call the law enforcement.
That's what I would think. Call sheriff and get him to run them off.
Okay.
I tried to.
Okay,
I tried to-
Hilda?
Nicer.
Okay, Hoder Park, a rude behavior, inappropriate activity, or loud music creating a scene at our parks, and families reported they are avoiding going there with their children and families because of all that action. The action that we've taken is we called the sheriff to assist with removals and request their office provide us with a report identifying date, time, and cause for the disturbance. I.e. trespassing and creating a scene or inappropriate behavior would be, in the report, so we would have that to go back to. Once the gatekeepers leave at 5 or 6 in the summer, a whole group of others come in, the attitudes change, the speeding of vehicles and four-wheelers goes up. So we talked about getting the gatekeepers staggered hours during the summer and getting the sheriffs to come later and stay later. The swimming area is congested with swimmers, kayakers, canoes, and tubers. The action being explored is the board is working with FDEP, looking at several options to enter the water by separating canoes, kayaks, and tubes from the swimming areas. This would be an expensive endeavor. Right?
Good, go ahead, Hilda.
Okay. Point Park, Many conflicts between boats and swimmers and tubers are occurring. Large numbers of swimmers and tubers are congregating at the swimming areas at the Ichetucknee Spring Run. The action being explored is to delineate the swimming area, but it's difficult because of the river rises and falls. Boats are pulling up on the shoreline, grounding and causing erosion. Boats are pulled up to the bank just north of the swimming area and tied ropes to the cypress. The state of Florida allows for prohibiting anchoring, grounding, and beaching of vessels, and this will be looked into. The integrity of the shoreline is being decimated by boats and too much activity. The board is working with FDEP to come up with solutions for accessing water. Oh gosh, I got that off.
We're working with management district.
Yeah, management district,
Yes.
okay, and also, since they're working in that park, hopefully we'll be able to work on the other parks that have shoreline erosion. Trailers are being left attached to vehicles in the parking area. Action trailers are not allowed in parking areas except at Fishing Park and the parking area north of the clubhouse here. A member reported, her friend was almost run over by a man in a green-black four-wheel vehicle exceeding speed, and we did provide a warning to that gentleman along with a photo used to identify him as a violator, and his park privileges could be taken away. All Treebo parks, the shoreline is highly eroded, so we're hoping we can, in fact, I've got some sketches right here of potential solutions that I will give to Tommy and Glenn, and essentially they're just these kinds of sketches. We'll pass those around, and that's for you guys.
Thank you.
Let's see, where am I? All Treebo Park?
May I interrupt,
Shoreline,
Chair?
no, you can't. Let her finish your report, please, Jim.
Shoreline, okay. The cemetery request for cleanup was requested. It's not a park, it was cleaned up. 2 trees were taken down. A fence was repaired and mowing took place. Maybe a group can take regular maintenance on if they would like to see more activity there, it looked better.
Which park again?
It's not a park, it's
Okay.
a cemetery.
Okay.
Clearing of vegetation with 75 feet of rivers. No one is supposed to clear within 75 feet to the water line, and people should not be using fertilizer in that area either. We should use our website to remind members of river protection behaviors required or encouraged. Do you want to have somebody work with you on that? Come up with some ideas? Okay. Capital improvement projects, I've listed 10 of them. I think everybody's familiar with them. The chairman noted that the board is engaged with Swanee River Water Management District on getting a permit for boat ramp at the Brandon Park Pavilion at the end of the Santa Fe. Is that working out? At the edge of the Santa Fe?
When you said Brennan,
Brennan,
right, we've got an engineer looking at that with management district,
okay,
and also looking at boat ramp on the Swanee side.
okay. And Tommy.
And that's a slow process with those folks. Sure.
Yes, it is. And Tommy recommended to get people to volunteer to take charge of each of the projects, and I have a question on that. Could those people be from the general membership that could take,
We could appoint some
leadership?
folks to work on
All
some
right.
committees, yes.
So use our website to post projects we're embarking on and ask interested members to get involved?
Sure.
Okay. And then
At the end of this report, Tommy's gonna go back onto project priorities.
perfect. So then you can hear all the projects. Motorized vessels on the Ichetucknee. This was started by a resident on the Swanee side. She did everything legally to request that motorized vessels on the lower Ichetucknee be restricted. And it was noted by a member that he felt that it was not appropriate for a board to vote to ban boats. That's not at all what we voted for. We voted to support the effort of the group working on identifying the lower Ichetucknee as a special protection zone, restricting the operation of motorized vehicles. The actual ordinance calls for restricting grounding, anchoring, and beaching of vessels. That could easily be restricted. So that's it.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions?
On the dog thing at the beginning, it wasn't mentioned about Bridge Park and Swanee County side.
Okay,
And so,
but, so are they, do they allow dogs?
Bridgeport don't, not Bridge,
Yep.
it's not on Swanee side, it's on Columbia side.
but I mean, I did Bridge Park and the Swanee County side. I didn't
Oh.
mean to mix them
He's just
up.
saying both, all three.
If you look at Bridge Park sign, you're gonna have to recheck that.
According to Bridge Park rules, dogs must be kept on a leash. You must
Yeah.
clean up after your pets.
So they are allowed, but you have to keep them, that makes sense, okay, alright.
So it's like the other two, but Bridge Park, they allow them in there also.
And
But they're all-
Swanee, and on the, some parts on the Swanee that are all on the Santa Fe, right? Do you allow dogs on those parts?
Well, now that you brought that up, I was gonna wait for new business, but, I was gonna ask the board if they would consider allowing dogs in the Swanee County Boat Ramp Park. We only have 2 parks on the Swanee side, and hardly anybody is using Brennan because it's just not feasible to use it, it's not usable. So, the use that we do have is at the boat ramp, and we swim there, it's different than over here. And that's our main place. We have several pavilions. We finally have electric in the large pavilion that we provided. Terry and I talked about putting some ceiling fans in that pavilion because residents have asked for that. So there are a few residents that go down there just about every day, and they take their dogs and they let their dogs swim. Some of them are elderly dogs and they just lie right beside their owner. We've never had any incidences on the Swanee side. So I was gonna ask you all what you
I
think.
think we're
and-
gonna have to be consistent, with what we do. I mean, I think it would be very hard for us just to pick and choose unless it's the type of activity that you have at a park. The high-density parks are what we were most concerned with because of the large number of people, with the dogs.
It is.
And I think that we were looking to try to find some solutions where we could find areas where dogs could access through the parks to the rivers and walk through. But I think the big concern was, and we had this concern, was the sheer number of people with dogs in a park could get very aggressive in some situations, but we wanted to reduce that or minimize that. So we're still kind of a little bit at odds on trying to determine what we can do. Yes, James?
Does Swanee County have the same leash laws?
No,
No, we don't.
I don't think Swanee County has a leash law.
I've called them on several occasions and they flat out tell me that Swanee County doesn't have a leash law. I thought there was a leash law for the entire state of Florida. But the county is not recognizing a leash law at all, so it is a little different. And the few people that go there, some of these people go there every single day. It's like a happy hour, and there's only a couple of dogs that go, and there's never been an incident, so.
Well,
I agree with you on this, on the people being there. But I go to that park, every time I go to that park, the same people are there. But they leave the gate open almost every time.
Well, let's stay on the dogs though.
Yeah, I'm
right
talking
now.
about they bring their dogs down there, and I don't know what to do, John has made it so that dogs are allowed down there. Yeah, he hasn't, the rules are written right by the gate, just like over here, and it says no dogs. So I'm kind of in a rock and hard spot myself.
I think we do have a bit of a dilemma right now at this point because we're not consistent. And I'm gonna be honest, I believe we need to go back and reevaluate whatever drove the purpose to not have dogs. look at the leash laws between the two counties. I mean, we don't wanna discriminate between any of all of that. And I've got 2 dogs, and I like to walk my dog, I'm afraid to walk him into a park. So, we walk him down the road. However, there's a lot of folks that would like to do that, but again, the reason we came to this point was when you've got 100 people in a park and you've got a dog and you've got kids, that's what drove us to the point where we are. So I really believe that we really need to sit down and reevaluate all the parks and the purpose of what we want the park to be. I don't think anyone wants to discriminate against dogs or the dog owners to be able to utilize the park, but we've got to come up with a best practice that actually covers TREPO. Especially if someone was to be in a situation where they get bit or a dog is loose, and we've got to come up with the rules. What happens if an owner says, well, I'm not going to abide by that rule, my dog's going to run wild? We need to be consistent with whatever it is that we're going to do in that
I
regard.
don't know how to handle them over there.
Well, it's not a matter of handling them, it's
that
where
group
we
of folks
evolve.
over there, I'm sorry, it is.
Yeah.
It's that same group of folks, we'll
Choose
talk
a
about
meeting
that.
and hit our parks.
Now, before you choke on your own foot, remember, you got a couple Swanee County people sitting at this table?
I know, but you understand. I think they're great, I sit down and talk to them all the time.
Well,
So go ahead, Hilda.
I
Sure.
really hear what you're saying, and I totally understand it from that perspective. The way that I was seeing it as an easy way to distinguish, because there's so many dogs in this community that we can't keep them out of all the parks, is the parks that we're allowing them onto that are on our side all happen to be Santa Fe River frontage.
Mhm.
So if it's a Santa Fe River frontage park, they need to be on a leash, but they're allowed in the park.
Okay.
That would be one.
What's the thought of the board? Why don't we go back and take a good hard look at this and come up with a 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 plan that's consistent across the board as to how we're gonna look at it. And, because I don't think anyone wants to keep, owners from being able to go with their dogs, but we've got to also look at the liability that the board has, especially in our high trafficked areas. And I'm sure there's gonna be a solution or some middle ground that we can find that would be satisfactory. What's the thought of the board?
I got a thought that, why don't we set up a little committee and research it and come back the next meeting with some thoughts that we could, because right now we're just kind of flying in the wind.
Well, I think we're getting to some point where we recognize that we're not consistent. So with that being said, we need to get consistent, so a committee is a good idea as to how we wanna take a look at it, but how do we get there?
Well, I'd recommend that the chairman select a 3 or 5 man committee or something, and,
I make a motion that Mr. Matthews heads up that committee.
okay, I wanna
Wait a minute, wait just a
be
second.
cautious about this, because we've got a lot of other things here.
Right, I know you
You
do,
take me on this,
right.
you forget the other. So, I mean, it's just too, you can't push all
Who
of this
wants
on
to
one person.
volunteer?
Like Vonda, man, she does
Oh,
everything.
I'm full of.
You know, it wasn't a problem when we were 200 or 300 members, but now that the number of members we have, things have kind of grown. We're really gonna have to take a very serious look at how we can come up with a plan that can be effective.
And I don't have a dog, so.
Mr. Trammell?
You want a dog in this fight?
Okay, Mr. Trammell?
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that we go back to what others have done. I know, I live in Tallahassee, there's one, and I think there's some in Gainesville, and that is you section, an area off for dogs. And they're not in the way of the people, but just for that area where they can, as I mentioned before, where people can launch their dogs into the river, which we have no control over the river, so they can put the dogs in the river. And, but that would give them an area where they could take their dog to the dog park within the, but that's about the only way you're gonna do this. Otherwise, you're gonna be dealing with dog poop and biting issues. And, so I go back to my original suggestion, and that is that we might look at sectioning off portions of some park, so that dogs could be brought down
Well,
there.
It
Almost-
could possibly be, utilizing parks that don't have have low traffic.
Exactly.
That might be in the best interest and establish that and even enhance it, for those that would be, wanting to utilize it in that respect.
Yeah.
Wayne, you had a question?
One of the situations, getting them in the river, you can't section it off and fence it down to the river.
Correct,
Right.
You
correct.
can't fence down to the river, but we could come up with a solution to get a section for them in different parks so that people can take their animals there.
Yeah,
Brennan Park would be great for that.
Shoot some out.
Brennan Park would be good for that.
They can leash them
Back to
down
this
to the
time for
water.
committee
You know,
to-
I'm not saying they can't
Okay,
go to
so
the water. We
is-
just
is-
can't put a fence down to the water so they can run
Well,
free.
we seriously need to take all the parks
Yes.
and look at what's happening at all the parks and how we can best utilize and, put together a plan that would be functional and usable. So, what would the board like to do? Do we have any, persons willing to volunteer to head up, that committee?
Well, I don't mind being on it.
I don't mind being on it, I don't wanna have
Okay.
it.
Can I be on it?
Should it be?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a dog person. She's a dog whisperer.
Okay, do we have someone who can head the committee up? Can we get a person from the board to chair the committee?
I'll head it up.
You will, Kathy? All right, thank you. So you've got, some volunteers. Didn't you speak about, dogs? Would you?
I'd be more than happy to be part of this
Yeah, could you?
committee, but because from what I just heard, what she read, I'm gonna ask for my $100 check back, because my bank automatically mails it out,
Yeah.
because I have no reason to rejoin anymore, because I can't use the.
Well, this
market.
is what we're wanting to do, so if you want to put the effort into our committee, that would
I'd
be
be more
great.
than
Okay,
happy.
so what is your name again? I'm
Ray
sorry.
Garner.
Ray Garner. Okay, so we've got, Ray Garner, Wayne, Kathy,
You were only
Hilda.
interested in Photo Park, right?
I'm interested in all the parks. I used to go around with
Yeah.
my dog and clean
Yeah.
every park. I never go when there's people in them.
Okay, we understand.
I met his dog.
So we've got,
So we've
and
got
Ms. Hunter,
Laura,
you're gonna be on the
Wayne.
committee also? Okay.
And Hilda, you too?
Yes, okay.
Laura, Wayne, Hilda, Kathy, and Ray, is that it?
And you may want to get some information on Ray to be able to contact,
Yeah.
Ray tonight
Yeah.
before you leave, Ray. Okay? All right, what else?
You done with your list?
No, he'll be down.
I'm
here.
done with my list,
Okay.
I've been.
Okay, so why don't we just move on then to the, treasurer's report?
Okay, did all board members receive the treasury report? Anybody need a copy? Need a copy? Anybody else have a copy? Okay. Our checking account at Drummond's Bank is, the balance as of December 30th is $16,076.74. Our reserve account, which is a savings account, is $50,034.81. And then our main checking account that we use as our working fund, as membership, excuse me, that's the ones that are renewing online and as they mail their renewals in. That's for membership money, $10,427. So the total is $76,538.55.
Okay.
The checks for December were $16,004.64. We have automatic drafts of $646.88. Our total expenditures were $16,651.52. We got some interest of 18 cents, interest in our savings of $6.31, and the deposits in our regular checking was $550. Deposits in our member checking was $1,950. Electronic deposits were $5,950. So our total deposits were $8,456.49.
Were some of these expenditures carryovers?
Pardon me?
Or some of the expenditures carryovers on the 16,000?
Carryovers.
From more than 30 days?
Sometimes checks come in that have been outstanding for several months,
Right.
and they show up all at one time. Is that the
No,
carryover you mean?
just the expense, I mean, your expenditures are 16,000. We had this discussion once before, that's more than a normal month's expenditure.
Right.
So I don't know if something's been looped.
Okay, on the P and L, if you'll take a look at the profit and loss, we spent $9,630 just on keys.
Okay,
that was just
there you go, that's what I was.
That's what you alluded to, yes.
Okay, any board members have any questions on the treasurer's report? Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Charlie, second by Mr. Trammell. Any discussion on treasurer's report? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move now to, you have anything else, Vicki?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll move on now to the president's report. Terry?
Okay, I really only have one thing to talk about. I will be enforcing the rules at the gates this year. People, if they wanna bring more than 12 people in, we'll have to get prior approval. I'm going to try my best to make sure, people, accompany their guests to the park like it says in our bylaws. So we are gonna get tougher at the gate, so I'd like everybody to know that.
Should we put something like that on the news? Website? Kind of a warning?
We're gonna put,
Yeah, we'll put it out there.
On Facebook too, can't we, Vaughn?
So how will that be done?
When we get the membership, we'll talk more.
It's gonna be only through the gate readers on the weekends.
Are people gonna bring their deeds?
When we get to the membership, we'll talk more
What,
about it.
you talk about that. Okay, anything else, Terry?
No, that's it.
Okay, we'll move on then to the park manager's report.
Okay, my main report, which is monthly, and then you asked me to put together a yearly report, and it's very short, it's just the numbers. This is the stats for 071 to 2022 to 12/28, 2022, and so it's a 6 months. It's got the number of visits, the number of gates unlocked during our these visits, the number of park rules concerns and confrontations encountered during these visits. Please keep in mind that this is a very small sampling of this information. Members in good standings come across these issues on a daily basis. They take it on themselves to lock the gates, pick up trash and glass. Please do not involve yourselves in any confrontation. The total number of visits that I made this year was 1,140. Total number of gates that were left open was 163. And the total number of concerns, confrontations is 119, and that includes park rules too. More precise information can be got from the board chairman. Through my reports, because I have the dates and everything for any of this information. Now, the temperature has been, everybody knows that the temperature has gone down, so the parks have been pretty quiet. But there are still some tough individuals out there hitting the water and going out in the weather, and so they can do that. Boat traffic's also slowed down. If the water gets any lower, then we're gonna need a call ditch at Tiffany Path. Gates continue to be a problem. Members are leaving the gates open after they come in and also leaving. Please remember, these are our parks, and ask people to lock the gates behind them both ways. This will help with keeping them safe. Please remember our guests, your guests are your responsibility. Please understand, if you are asked by me or any board member or greeter for your name and key number, don't give them a hard time about it. We're just trying to do our jobs and make the park safe for you. We're still having a problem with boats coming up on the shore at Point Park, Hodder Park. Even Trepo members do it, and they're not allowed to moor their boats on the shore no more than anybody else. They can put them out in the water, but sometimes I'll get Trepo members that are in good standing, say, well, I got a key and all, but it's still no boats. And they can it's just, you know, I hate to have to deal with the people, and, they get upset at me, but the rules are rules. Dogs in the park, in parks that allow them, must be on leash and under control of the owner. We talked about that, dogs. One issue we didn't cover is dogs that are roaming through the parks on their own have been a problem too, a considerable problem. They don't have no keys, you know, and so I was gonna leave that up to the board's direction on how you handle them, how we, you know, I don't wanna call, I don't even know if Columbia County has a dog catcher or not, but, but I don't know what, you know.
What's the dog's name that comes from Swanee County?
I
I love that dog.
I do too, everybody does.
He's from the Swanee side too.
Yeah, he always goes back and,
Because they don't have these laws there.
They don't have these laws. So I don't know what.
okay, let's back to order.
But
Sorry.
the dogs they're knocking over the garbage cans and stuff like that. If it was something it's just dogs that get in the park that are out and about. So I don't know, you guys are gonna have to decide how you wanna handle that.
As best we can.
Yeah. Glass containers are, to be taken in parks. I find glass still, and garbage cans are filled with glass bottles and containers. So, you know, even they say, well, we bring them in on boats and all that stuff. Well, take them home with you, because garbage cans get knocked over, and so we got broken glass in the park. So, you know,
I think, Bill, if we can just continue to reiterate that.
yeah, and the parks close at dusk, except for camping parking, you've got a camping site. And that's means sundown or dark, special permission can be arranged. Lack of traffic in the park does not mean that the roads in front of the parks are a raceway for cars, trucks, ATVs, and UTVs. We do not need to get someone hurt or killed. And the current issue are dogs in the park, less people not locking the gates behind them, ATVs and UTVs, not following the rules. That's it.
Okay, any board members have a question of Bill? Okay, thank you, Bill, appreciate the report. We'll move on then to the maintenance committee. John's not here, John usually heads that up. Terry, you or Bill have anything to report on?
Bill's been doing some work for us.
I do want to thank the people that called about the leak we had, the freeze leak we had out here.
April showers.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I was able to, it was Christmas Day, I went down and I pulled the breaker on it, and I was able to fix it the next day. But, I've got there are some things that need to be done, and I brought them up so there's no sense in rehashing that
Right.
stuff.
We'll continue to work on those items, Bill. Anything else, Terry or Bill?
We need a step out here fixed. I guess I'll try to handle that
Right,
this week
Okay.
sometime.
okay, we'll move on then to communication committee report. Vonda, Charlie, anything to report?
Anything with communication? Anything?
Nothing new.
All right. We'll go ahead and skip with membership here. For January of 23, we are starting off with 118 members on the Columbia side and 41 on the Swanee side, so a total of 159 members as of today. Should I wait? Should I keep going?
You're doing fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Are we going to skip right over to the other? Okay.
Were you going to talk about, when you're talking about membership now?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to talk
Because
about, that you want to go ahead and reiterate Key Day or anything with that? as
Yeah,
to where we
let's
stand?
talk about Key Day. Also, one thing I do want to, is everybody at the table have, this is our new membership, y'all take one, y'all get one?
Yeah, I got one.
It's generally the same as it was before, it's just in a different shape. We did update the amount of the late fee, which was discussed last month. We also did put a place in here where you could choose if you want to pick your keys up or you want them by mail. And then at the very bottom, and this, I believe this Article 9 was already on the other one, but it was like 2 squares at the bottom. We just put it across there. We also added at the bottom, by signing this membership application, you acknowledge you have read, understand, and agree to abide by the TREPO bylaws, restrictions, and covenants, deed restrictions currently in effect and found at trepo.net/documents. And the reason we do this is because we're having so many new people come in, or there could be people that have been here for years. I didn't know we had bylaws. This is just saying that you understand we do have them, you read through them, you know where to find them. There's nothing, no hidden agenda. It's just so that it's bringing everyone's attention to it that we do have rules and you know where to find them. And if you did get someone, you bought your property from someone and no one disclosed that to you, that here it is. A couple other things to go in on the membership is we go back and forth. There's been lots of discussion online about paying for the keys and then paying for member dues, and that's not how this was set up. It's not whether you utilize the park and the facilities that we have has nothing to do with our fees, our membership fees. The membership fees, that's what I was just looking through here. These are in our bylaws under expenses and common surplus. And it just says, I can read the whole thing and bore you to tears, but I've highlighted, it looks like maybe the second sentence, and it says, each lot owner shall be responsible and liable for an equal share of the common expenses regardless of the purchase price, size, location, or improvements there on their lot. And it just says, the common surplus is owned by all the owners. This is just saying that it doesn't matter if you use the parks, don't use the parks. It's distributing the cost of running this association amongst everyone in an equal share. Whether you have a large lot, a small lot, it's an equal share for everyone. So you're not buying keys, you're not paying for keys, in quote keys. It's a part of your membership, and it's giving you access to keep other people out that aren't members. So you have a key. We keep going?
Yes.
Okay, and the other thing, actually with keys, didn't you have a member sent you a letter?
Right. Skip, I think, is that it?
And that's between this and everything on Facebook. That's what I
Well,
went
that was good. That would be the next item under new business.
That's what I'm saying. Do I go, or do you want to go ahead?
Well, I can read the letter.
You read that, and then I'll come back. We'll
Sure.
revisit this.
All right. Received a letter from Skip at a concern the same as what you were reiterating before about keys. It says, "Dear board members, I'd like to bring the following recommendation and ask that it be discussed at the January board meeting and a decision made regarding multiple keys given out. We have a policy that no matter how many properties a member owns, they're allowed one vote. We also say we do not sell keys, and they're given to members as a privilege of being a member. Therefore, I feel we should not give more than 2 keys per membership, no matter how many properties a member may own. It is hard to defend saying we do not sell keys when in fact in past years we have sold additional keys to members who are willing to pay additional money based on properties they own. If keys are to be part of a member's privilege and we only allow a member to have 1 vote, I think it is correct to only give 2 keys per member. This should be put in place now before any keys are given out for the 2023 year. There is no reason any member needs more than 2 keys unless they are allowing others to use keys and are in fact selling keys. I believe action on this matter will go a long way in showing members we intend to enforce park rules for use. I cannot attend this meeting tonight, but have spoken with several board members regarding this issue and request action be taken at the January meeting before any keys are issued for 2023. And that was from Skip Clemens, Three Rivers property owner. So we have been discussing this for quite some time. It has been a dilemma, and so I'll hand it back to you. The discussion on keys, and the board, you can make a decision and decide the direction we need to go.
But then there are certain factors you do have to factor in. We do have long-term rental people. They rent annually, by the year. And I think if the lot owner wants to take the responsibility of allowing their tenants to have a key, it would still fall back on them. So if that tenant did something in the park or broke rules, it would go back on the owner. So that's just another thing to consider.
Is that including the liability?
Well, this is just it. It would be back on it's the owner
They
taking
need to know that
that.
then, because,
But that's what I'm saying. This is where
They
we
do.
need to, discuss what is everyone's feelings on this.
James?
I got a question on the over 6 month type rental that's, I guess, kind of like the new standard for things.
Let's consider your long-term, the
Right,
person that actually
long-term
lives
rental,
there, they're
right.
typically not.
Those type of properties, could we not have a subsection with the renter's name? You have a
Yeah,
property
we
owner
would
with
have,
the renter's name?
we would have to have who the actual owner of the property is, and we would have who in all their information.
Right, because if you bought a house out here and you're renting this house out, and you've got a long-term renter that wants to access the park, it seems to me that would be kind of a normal thing that renter would be able to make that payment, so his.
They would
And we
maybe-
have been doing this. This is
Are they,
nothing new.
are they put on notice that that person is the one that is identified with that key? Is that how you're doing that?
Well, this would all be in our
Okay.
information, but this has been going on. I mean, we do have certain members that have been doing this. We've never, up to this point, never had a problem with that because it's their home.
Right,
So-
I mean, if John Doe has 6 properties and he's got 6 different renters, then John Doe should have, Baby Smith over here is listed under key 2021 and Jim Smith over
Right, they
here
would all be, it
2023.
would be together. It would-
John Doe only can get one key.
He can only get one regardless how many properties he
So
owns,
that-
he should only,
Right, that's
all
the
right.
discussion.
Doesn't matter how
You get multiple keys.
because you're really only based on what what it says you get. If you have multiple properties,
I'm not gonna pay for my full freaking membership. Long-term rentals, it doesn't matter about the rentals, no, just 2 keys per member for, it doesn't matter how.
membership.
Oh, I got 7 months, what should I do?
Hold on,
I know, I'm just saying that,
Right.
that's what we're deciding. And also too, while we, discuss, do you think we need to add that onto there for renewal, for people who have that, to put it on there?
we haven't,
No, well, we haven't even gotten that far, but
Right.
the owner, the deed, the person on the deed would have to be the one handling it. We couldn't take the information from the tenant. It would have to be run through the owner.
Yeah, but I was just saying, the owner of the keys, should we have there and listed stating that, if you have any property rental, we need to, and put them down?
Well, that's what we're all discussing.
Right, okay.
Now,
I'm just
it's just,
saying,
yeah,
should we
multiple,
add
and then
it to
we
this?
would have to get into more discussion on that.
Yeah, Charlie?
I have a renter that's been renting the same place for me since 2010. She lives here in Three Rivers. I give her a key every year, but she's been living here since 2010. I mean, she's a great renter. She's never caused any problem in the community. Should I take her key away so that I can have one? That doesn't seem fair, does it? I also pay for multiple memberships each year. I still only get one vote, but I pay for multiple memberships each year so that my long-term tenants can have their keys. So think of the money you're going to lose if you say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. And I say, well, I'm only paying for one lot because I'm only required to pay for one lot. So now y'all can kiss my other $300 goodbye, or more than that now that it's
Well,
gone
that's
out.
what I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
But that's a long term,
Yeah, that's long term.
That's, and we have been doing this. But part of what he's talking about is if they don't have renters, I mean, anyone really, if for each lot they had, they, could get keys and then give them to their friends, sell them to their friends, whatever. Another problem we had this past year was people lose their keys, they want another key. I personally feel you're given 2 keys. So with those 2 keys, you've got a key, use that key. If that goes away, you still got a backup. Otherwise, you are selling keys.
Well, what about changing the number on the key and making that key that they had lost?
Like an addendum key for long-term
Yeah.
rentals.
You know what I mean?
I do,
That way that.
but
that
that
number
other
comes-
key is still gonna come through here when nobody's sitting at that gate.
Well, yeah, well, you're right about that, but
Yes, it
they
is.
will come through, like we had that happen this year. We had that same key that came through that was owned by about 4 people, you know, and,
And we had issues on, and that's another thing, there is also another member that had several, owned lots of property, had several things, and we had 2 issues off of that this year. That it's someone that wasn't even related to
They
that
told me,
person.
but yeah.
Yeah, this key thing, I've been here since 1990, and that's a long time. And I was told when, in the very beginning, when I joined Trepo, that those keys are gold. You do not lose them, because they're impossible to replace. And I still feel that way. You need to guard keys. My grandkids think I'm crazy because I'm always asking, "Where's my keys?" You know, not gate keys, but car keys or whatever. It's because I'm just a key person. I like to know where my keys are.
I do too.
And I think I'm gonna guard my keys, and if I get 2 and I lose 2, then I am
You're
lost for the rest of the year. Till the next time.
you can't drive nowhere.
I can't go no.
But I kind of feel that that's how it should be. If there's someone has something, they can bring it before the board, and then the board could decide. But I don't think we should be.
There's gotta be a way to work it out for the
Yeah.
long-term renters, there's gotta be a way to.
No, that yeah.
Without
This is
taking.
What is a long-term renter?
Over 6 months,
Okay,
that's over 6 months.
They actually live there. That's their mailing
so
address.
are we saying the weekend renters? What about the
That's-
weekly renters that,
that's-
that we know are here?
That's a whole nother.
Airbnb stuff, so.
Yeah, I'm not debating, I'm not arguing at
Yeah,
the point, I'm just saying
Yeah.
we need to come up with a rule
The
that
short
fits.
terms are questionable.
But this is where we may need to put together another committee to research into that, kind of bringing people from different thought processes on that, you know.
What's your idea about bringing in that committee, putting in people that own Airbnbs and people that don't
Right,
own them?
right,
You know, or whatever, so that everybody
right,
can talk about it, or short-term rentals and,
right.
you know, get a group of people that are.
It's not something
invested
you
in
can
it.
just decide right this moment that this is what we're gonna do. I feel that there's too many.
Moving parts.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, you go back to the bylaws, and it says, hang on, no glasses. Under Article 9, the membership provisions, all members, their relatives, and their guests to accompany them have full use of the recreation areas owned by Three Rivers Estates Property Owners Incorporated. They shall use, this use shall include, but not be limited to, boating, swimming, picnicking, and other recreation. Said recreation areas be owned, operated, controlled, and managed by the corporation. It goes on, so, whereas this is the bylaw, and this is what it says.
Says 2 keys.
Right, well, no, it doesn't say anything about 2 keys,
They have to be
that's ours,
started by the
but,
owner.
right, by an owner, but I also, this is me, and you please all y'all weigh in on this. I know we're a member of an HOA, in another county, and it also includes like immediate family, the parents, the children, the grandchildren, anything within your scope, your circle. And I do agree with you might have a 90-year-old, member. They're, and I think that when their kids come to visit, and maybe grandma is having trouble affording it, and these kids are coming in using the parks under them, well, then they can help share grandma's burden. They can't afford it. Oh, back to another one. We'll hit that one in a minute, 'cause we gotta finish this one. Does anybody have any recommendations on this and how to handle it?
Recommendation, but we keep talking about the Airbnbs and the renters and
So
all this.
long-term and solutions.
There's a place right up the road here they've had a rental
Forever.
home forever. And it's, the owner's not there for people renting it, they're using the parks, they're using the keys. They're just like the Airbnbs, we gotta throw that in there as well as the Airbnbs, we're gonna start doing something with all of them.
Short-term rental.
We need to take a look at all of it.
Yeah.
There's one on the Swanee side not far from the boat ramp, that's a rental property, that's, a vacation rental property for weekenders and, it's,
I had suggested to Terry, I don't know if this is crazy and out there, but maybe Terry could hold a town hall since she's the person that the members are to come to. I mean, it would have to be, we'd have to have somebody there to kind of keep the peace. But she could run like a town hall to hear from all members, both sides. What do you think? What do y'all think? I mean, at least you get more of a pulse on what's.
Yeah, to have a town hall meeting or, you know, a meeting for everybody if they will.
Right.
Do it online maybe or
Or
something.
maybe another
Or
survey or
could-
something like that.
Yeah, a survey and put it on the question, you know, ask all people that own it. Do you want to have Airbnb people in here or not? You know, in the bylaws, you know, they're not there, but.
So what's gonna happen when you have multiple, you have a property and you have multiple, renters, on a property?
Well,
What do you
by
mean?
bylaws,
I mean-
you're not supposed to have, you're not.
Supposed
Because
to
I
be a
see it
single
coming.
family. Supposed to be a
No, I see
single
it, I
family.
know, but what I'm trying to say, I see it coming and I think it's here already.
We got to address it sometimes. you
And
know.
here's the situation, we're in January and we're gonna be having, keys to be issued here within just a couple of weeks.
Not this week, but the next.
Exactly,
21st.
and I don't know how you resolve, this has got a lot of tentacles.
got a lot of issues, and a lot of it's been going on for a long time. You can't just jump in there and say, oh, I can do it.
Right.
I mean, this stuff, some of this stuff
Well, we're
been
gonna have
around
to figure
as
something
long as
out.
I've been a member. I've been a member since '07.
Before we start working the gate.
But you almost need to play out every scenario so that you fully
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
each one's different and how are they different and why, and how does it affect the members, the people that bought into this community
Correct.
with expectations that we have keys and we preserve and protect the parks, because the comments that I'm getting right now are a lot of folks saying, who are all these people that are bombarding our parks and have access to our parks?
Absolutely.
And I'm hearing it, I'm think all the board members are hearing it.
Yeah.
So,
data that those people are short-term renters?
Terry, you can.
At a previous meeting, we talked about this, and it was suggested that maybe, because it's a sign of the times, we have to make some sort of an allowance, that we have the person renting these properties short-term provide a list to us of who's acceptable to come in the gate with the key, but it may change every week. But we did talk about having some sort of a list of who's the user of the key for the short-term.
well, this is a
rent.
process and a procedure. Of course, the
Yeah.
gatekeepers would have that information, but this is a process that we've got to go through. My big concern is that, we may be having some code violations on, we're A3 zone, which is single family and mobile home. And that's it. I don't know of any other exceptions to that. But
People living in campers and tents and.
But we got a lot of, we have situations that I'm afraid that are coming down the road, that you're gonna have multiple renters on properties in violation of the county code.
Yeah.
So almost could be deemed as a trailer park, or,
Yeah.
This,
Campers, right?
yes.
communities in Florida have stopped Airbnbs, short rentals. They've done it, and they've done it quickly. You gotta do it quickly, because it is coming down the pike very quickly.
So
Yeah,
here's
you've
the
already said-
situation we have then right now, real quick. We're gonna be issuing keys in a couple of weeks. We got high
You might say
expectations
something.
of things where they are. So how are we gonna be able to limp through this while we have things in place? Mr. Trammell?
Mr. Chairman, I think we're looking at a number of different things here, and I agree with what you said. And it all kind of links together. But one, we've got overloaded the parks that we have to deal with. And two, we've got an abuse or potential abuse of the keys. As we know, there's going to be people giving keys to other keys, and even some of these people who rent are willing to invest $100 in another key to get more keys to give to people who rent. So I'm prepared to make a motion, but what I would suggest is we start with limiting it to two keys per property owner membership. As it relates to long term, we can deal with that, but at least this right out of the chute tells us, and everyone else, this is what we're gonna do, before we start issuing these keys. But I would suggest that we do that, because I think that's gonna be, if you got 2 keys, it's kinda like, Mr. Matthews said, you better not hang on to them. That's what we've done. You better put them in 2 different places.
Yep.
But, and then, we can address, I think, the long term after that, but I think you're gonna have to have something in place right now that limits those keys. Otherwise, people will say, hey, I wanna buy another key, I wanna get, I got people coming in, I've got renters coming in, we'll have and they're willing to do that. So, if everybody agrees with that, I'm prepared to make a motion to.
If you make that motion now and you limit those keys now, we really have nothing to discuss later for those long-term renters because the motion's already went through that we're only going to do 2 keys, so it'd be a day.
But you could add to it.
You could go back and review the whole thing,
The
but
exception to that would be long-term renters and set the policy in line with that.
Until it's discussed.
Why don't we just make that part of the motion?
Who is a long-term?
Yeah, you can't do this at 2-hour meetings.
I think that's probably gonna require a little more work, but if you wanna stop it before the keys go out, if you wanna make sure something's in place, then we gotta do something, now, because keys are getting ready to go out. But I'm all in favor of having an option, where, somebody, rents long-term, that can be added to it.
Well, they're paying for a separate membership too.
well, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Paying for memberships.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Charlie's paying for a separate membership to get the extra key.
But
Okay.
you have to watch that too, because there's some people that own other properties that say, well, I want to pay an extra membership and I own 2 keys.
And I'm renting.
I should get 2 extra keys.
But the thing is they're renting them every week and they're wanting extra keys and they're the same owner. So there you have a
You have to,
catch-22.
maybe you just have to prove, bring in your contract, you've got a contract with this person that's been there
Of course.
10 years. Bring in your contract, show the contract.
That's what we've always had to do in the past.
Yeah.
Actually, we've never done that in the past, but beside the point of that, even if I brought in the contract, let's say I did. Let's throw that out there for a moment. If I brought in my contract, okay, now there's a lot of personal information that goes on those contracts. In some cases, there's just security numbers, they're protected by HIPAA laws. The problem is, once I put that paperwork on this table, then all of a sudden, then I have people in the public, public records request, I want to see it. And I'm sorry, but I'm not giving those, I don't trust everybody with that information.
Yeah.
I have to protect my clients.
Point
Is
taken.
there any way that,
Yeah, James.
Well, I'm wondering, kind of going with that thought, do like Tom's talking about, and we go with the standard that's already there, we can have it listed subject to amendment, and basically, I guess we're getting a longer discussion committee going right now about next month, if we had to waive the late fee on somebody because we came to a decision. The thing about a rental agreement, all I think we would need would be something similar to an affidavit saying that I affirm that I am.
Yes.
Now, that would be acceptable.
That's
showing a
good.
contract.
Yeah, that would be acceptable in lieu of the actual contract. Sure.
I think what would be important is that key number is associated with a person,
Correct.
not, and that should be suffice with that would work with what you're.
Yeah, and that would be fine. If you put the membership even in my tenant's name, approved by actual owner, I'm okay with that.
And that seems.
That would actually be that I think would be very fair, because then when they come to the party, they don't have to say, "Oh, I'm Charlie's tenant." Just say your name. It's in your name, approved by actual owner.
right.
Okay, Mr. Trammell.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it, it's just, I think what you guys are talking about is gonna take a little bit more effort and fine tuning. And I would suggest to you that at the end of the motion, we just say that accept that this motion in no way limits the board's ability to make additional exceptions in the future.
Yes.
So you can come back then and add to that. But if you, I gotta agree with Mr. Clemens, if we don't do something, we're gonna issue those keys. And so I think it needs to be done from the very beginning. This is it. This is what you got. And now, maybe the chairman would want to put together, a committee,
Well, Vonda and Terry have
already on the,
been working with
Okay.
SIP and have worked extensively with this, so I would think this needs to begin and go further immediately as far as working up the final.
If that be
What do you
the,
think, Vonda? What's your,
What I say about this is I've got 3 memberships right now. They're vacant lots. They're owned by 3 different LLCs and the keys go to the same address. Now, where are they doing them keys?
That's
LLCs.
owned by the same LLC.
No, they're owned by 3 different LLCs, 3 different properties.
Going to one
They
address.
go to one address.
So it's most likely one owner that has these 3 different LLCs and different names.
Is there a way you can find out through legal
But they're.
it's easy to find out for sure, but
well, that's not the intent of what the bylaws say.
Right.
then I
So-
think maybe if we're gonna make any type of motions tonight, maybe we, instead of saying we're only limited anything, why don't we say that we're going to suspend sending out any additional keys until such time as we can all come to a decision on this, maybe next month or whenever the committee actually looks at it. That way we're not putting anything in writing, we're just suspending everything until such time as we actually look at it.
You're saying for additional fees.
Right.
So that would be a little bit more work for the folks on the key committee.
Well, they wouldn't be able to, I mean, you'd only be able to
Right.
get your 2 keys, but it
Right.
would, if you owned other properties, maybe we suspend your ability to get those memberships until such time as we can all discuss it.
What's your thoughts?
You know, that'd be like me saying, I got 2 properties. That'd be like Judy saying, okay, she wants her 2 keys. Even though she doesn't live on the property, there's no house on the property, it's right next door to us, and I might kick her over there, and you know.
or she'll keep you.
I'm not going over there, but I got a barn, I can sleep in. But anyway,
Is this,
if you got a person with 3 LLCs and it's the same address that it's going through, that's like a husband and wife, you know what I mean? Asking for the same key.
Well, we'd have to look and find out about that, because it could be that I have an LLC, my 22-year-old son has an LLC, my 23-year-old daughter, not that my kids are that age.
One person can have 6 LLCs. I mean.
And besides that, an LLC is a legal entity in the state of Florida, so it really doesn't matter if all these legal entities share the same address or not. They are still separate legal entities, therefore they are entitled to separate memberships.
Right.
So, there's that.
Is there not a registered person to that LLC?
Well, there has to be a
Registered
person.
There is a registered agent, there's a managing member for an LLC, but at the same time, that LLC is still a legal entity within the state. If it's a legal entity, it can own property. I have an LLC that owns property, and I personally own property. So,
It's like saying they're each an individual.
yes, they are. They might all share the same house, just like you and your wife do.
So that means me and my wife can get 4 keys.
Sure you can, if you put one of them in your wife's name, or you put one of them in an LLC, then sure you could.
So if I put my wife's name on a piece of property, I can get 4 keys.
Yeah, you can.
Well, that, you guys need to discuss this, 'cause I think
If
that's
you're
why you got.
paying,
that's
But
what
you would have to
got
pay a
that's
separate
why you got
membership on the other
problems.
property.
Keys all over the place.
And that's what's,
And that's what we're trying to discuss. Where's the line?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. It was your idea of maybe putting it off.
Yeah,
a
James, go
month.
ahead.
Might be a good idea, you know?
If we're trying to check somebody at the gate, and the key is registered to an LLC, and we don't have a name to, address that key with, is that not one of the issues also?
Yes.
We can require the LLC to have a name to work with?
that's what we started on kind of at the end of last year.
I
Just
mean,
gotta
it's
call
just-
somebody.
Right, we use a managing member.
Well, that would only be fair to the members that own property down here who get a key in their name, because that's how you're gonna issue. But if you're gonna let an LLC be wide open, it could be anybody. So I can walk up with an LLC, that's a free ride. Yeah.
It is.
You have to identify somebody with a greeter at the gate.
never even crossed that bridge before.
You
No,
look
we
like
haven't.
the LLC.
Yeah. Terry, how have y'all dealt with that before?
As long as they can give me the name that matches that key, they can come in.
Okay, so you haven't actually been letting just an LLC come through, you've got a.
Yeah, so, what is it?
Northern Electric, Lexington Estates, and the Hermitage.
That's where they come in through.
They've already paid online.
So but that's where we've got to then probably send it, we've got to have a contact person, I think, associated with each of these.
I think there should be a contact person for sure.
Absolutely.
And that contact person is the one that's allowed to use the key.
That's, I don't know.
This was where we're back to,
That'll have to be
Back
discussed.
to assisting the person that's coming in with the key, with the actual owner of the key, so you're back.
I really didn't mean to get into a committee tonight to do this, but the more we dig into this tonight, the worse it's gotten. But yet we've got to give out keys here in a couple of weeks,
the problem.
so any recommendation from the president or?
I thought we're gonna have to put a committee together and deal with it. I don't know if we're gonna be able to handle it this year.
Well, you got till the 26th, I think.
21st.
First, yeah.
First.
I mean,
We have a weekend.
But what-
LLC's out there.
You know, how about putting together an
No, that's
emergency
last year's
meeting
on Facebook.
after the committee gets together and discusses this a little bit more in private, say,
Well, we don't do it
20th?
private, but we have a committee. We
But I
can-
mean, you can have a committee discuss this and then bring it back to the board.
There's just, so many factors to bring into it.
Yeah, I think you just about got to outline, what is this situation, what is this situation? There's 3 or 4 probably. So then you got to take a look at those and see how does that how can we make that fit? And be fair to the folks that bought property down here, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who gets 2 keys for their property. Howard, we don't want them to be abused. And we don't want our parks to be abused with a flood of people taking advantage of a rule that's not very strong. So,
You know, 'cause some of these parks, they come in with people with 1 key and they flood the park with, you know, and that's where some of the outside parks are.
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
a
gonna do
different
is-
issue altogether.
let me do this, I wanna open this, we got some folks that wanting to speak outside, I wanna open this up, yes ma'am.
Can I suggest, since Key Day is 2 weeks away and there's a lot of issues connected to it, that a committee be put together for next year for, that things don't change. I think you're gonna have a lot of people that have already paid and that are gonna show up and are gonna be really mad if something gets changed in a rush decision, that I think you lose a lot of trust. And I would be happy to serve on a committee that's more of a year-long effort, because those are big, huge issues.
They are.
And it's a lot of them. It's because you can also, even though keys will go out, then what you have to do is just enforce bad behavior, because the keys aren't the problem. The problem is when people get in the parks
behavior.
and then they have bad
The keys.
behavior, and then that's when we need to call the sheriff and things like that, so.
And also
That's
there's
nice.
giving them or selling them to their friends because they have extra keys. That's another one that we're running into.
And I think what you referred to about people coming in, they're not familiar with, they could care less what we do here. And they've never even tripped here before, but now I'm a new person coming in and I'm using this avenue to get here, and they get into our parks and create a whole lot of problems. Mostly our members do not, as a general rule, do not, but we're having a lot of outside influence coming in and they have no idea.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who's creating the issues, but you have data. When you check the keys, is it written down?
Yes.
Do they just check on a list, or do they write down, okay, Greco
Both.
came in 8 people?
Both.
Right, so you have that data, and if you continue to collect that data next year while the committee's working, you know, you can see where are the issues, because I would be, that you kind of know who are your short-term rentals. Are those the keys that are problematic? Is it an issue?
Okay, let me, yes, go ahead, Jesse.
So in previous years, like this last year, I did have a rental, and I was required to get a membership in care of my renter's name, and then in care of my name. And that's how I was made to do it, and I was also made to show them my renter's agreement saying that they were renting me for over 4 months. Because our bylaws state that. Our bylaws state you're not allowed to rent it for under 4 months. That's our bylaws, the rules we have to follow. So it should be pretty simple. And also, our bylaws also say that if Lonnie would have finished, that if you so choose, you can get one membership, no matter how many lots you own, the improvements of.
You have to have one
bounds of it.
membership.
We'll read the whole bylaw if you will.
It says that you have to have one, I will.
All the way to the end.
Okay. I know exactly what it is, that's what I'm saying, it says you have to have one, let me read the whole thing from the beginning. The common expenses of the corporation shall include the expenses of the operation, maintenance, repair, and replacement of the corporation property, cost of carrying out the powers and duties of the corporation, and any other expense designated as common expenses by the bylaws. Each lot owner shall be responsible and liable for an equal share of the common expenses regardless of the purchase price, size, location, or improvements thereon of his lot. Common surplus is owned by the lot owners in the same shares as their ownership interest in the association property as set forth above, 1 share per lot. Provided, however, a share in the common surplus does not include the right to withdraw or require payments or distributions of the same, except otherwise set forth herein, and further provided that an individual owner of more than one lot in Three Rivers shall only be required to maintain in good standings for one lot if the owner so elects. So it's just saying you're required, it is a mandatory membership
If
fee.
you so elect. A member in good standing if you so elect.
Okay, it says required to maintain membership in good standing for one lot,
One lot.
right?
So it's actually saying, if you interpret it correctly, if you interpret it some way, you can actually buy more than one
That's-
according to the way that's written.
That's exactly, that's
You
how-
can buy more than one, but you are required to buy at least one.
Right,
Right.
that's exactly.
Okay, board members, what's the pleasure of the board? Yes, sir.
I don't know if we
Okay.
I got one more first, last
This young
person.
lady said she got that paper in the mail to sign. I have gotten nothing in the mail.
What is it?
After you
And
paid the
my
sign.
bank automatically sends out my check in December. So it got sent out $100 check, but we went up to 150.
You're not alone, everyone that is set to go out like that.
Okay, so I did look today, my $100 check hasn't been cashed yet though.
It got sent back to you with a letter saying that
It's
Okay,
like,
well, I
it's
haven't
coming.
gotten that
it's
yet.
coming.
Okay.
Also, while we're on this,
Okay.
everyone will be receiving, unless you had paid up, I think it was up to last week, everybody will be receiving an invoice. They're in the mail. So that, and we did include Swanee and Columbia, anyone that is within, the Three Rivers Estates, it should be in their description. I found I couldn't go through, there were just too many. But I did find a couple that they did not pull our numbers. So how reliable is what both counties gave us, I don't know, because we did go through trying to check off members that had paid, and some of them weren't even listed in those. And we also put a little disclaimer that because we also had the problem last year, people would send it back in because we sent it to them, but that on their property description, it has to list Three Rivers Estates in order to be entitled to a membership through TreePub.
I didn't get my gift certificate from McDonald's yet.
Well, the
Okay,
invoice
so,
is coming.
so what's the pleasure of the board?
I like Stacy's idea, we'll do a committee and look at it over the year.
Because I don't want to be a knee jerk.
Over this year,
yeah.
Well, why don't we get it accomplished maybe earlier in the year? I guess as soon as these,
Yeah, we don't have to drag it out through the year,
Right.
but we can go
but
ahead.
as soon as we get through the key process, because it's gonna be very, very busy getting through the next couple of months
But we'll have it ready for next
with
year.
that. But we need to get that ready. Do we have a committee? We have a committee for that?
Stacy said she'd like to be on it.
Okay.
I'll help with that too.
Kathy?
Kathy and Hilda?
No.
No.
I can find another short
Terry?
rental person if you want, for representation.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a committee for that, then, yes, sir.
Okay, also, online, somebody commented about this paper also, and I questioned about, I travel a lot, I travel at least 4 months a year. and my niece or my son, they come and stay at my house. How, I can't give them my key now, I'm told.
Well, that's one of the things I think we're gonna have to build into it, is your immediate family members,
Right.
and say you don't have a daughter or a son, or, you know, like, in that your nieces, nephews are. But I think at some point, we're gonna have to do that and have a second form, along with your membership form, to be able to put down your immediate. I mean, you can't go on listing everybody,
Right, well,
but it's gotta
because-
be your immediate, people that would come in.
Like, I have 2 lots, and when my sister retired, she put a home on one of them. So I have my sister, my brother-in-law, and my nephew living on my property.
But that's your immediate, right.
We're
That's your
not buying
immediate
another
family.
membership.
That's what I'm
but-
saying, there has to be an inclusion,
Right.
you know,
That's why we're gonna make this committee.
that's why the committee's gotta gonna have to walk through
The
this.
greeters, all they have is one name and then,
Ray, I think it's to accommodate the members here, but what we're trying to do is stop those folks that are coming through here real fast and abusing the process.
Okay, and
That's
then
the
one more
intent.
quick thing. She was reading, when she was reading the dog in the park thing, she says the parks are closed at night. I don't hang out at the parks, but I park at the parks at night, because 80% of my kayaking, I prefer night.
No, we had discussed that too, you can go on and on. We should go through the river, yeah.
Alright, because I don't hang out in the park. but
Correct.
I got a vehicle parked at, usually at Hodar and Boat Ramp in Swanee side.
oh yeah, I think
Okay.
they talked about that already.
All right, so we're clear on this, then we're gonna,
Mr. Chairman.
do you have a chairman for that committee?
The chairman for the committee.
What?
The,
Key. It's gonna be
key slash,
Membership.
It would have to be bond to the chair.
the key control committee. So, yeah, okay.
I guess that would be me.
Okay, Madam President, that's,
We'll help you.
You may
Okay.
wanna look at that paragraph that must maintain at least one.
yeah.
Now you're saying I can buy 2, 3, 4.
that's just it, it's, and just like in the, it's how the board,
Interprets the,
In the
but you
Bible.
get a lawyer and he just says.
but you just had the majority of the people kind of read the same, you know, into it. While we're on membership and keys, I
Okay.
do have one other thing to bring up. One thing we had discussed prior was, like, we had a few, I guess they're all elderly, a few elderly, or poor health,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's next, that's under financial assistance.
You can do
B,
that.
go ahead.
No, what's all going into it. But we've only had 3 people reach out to
Okay.
us.
That's correct, and they were hardship cases is primarily what they're saying, so that they could not, they're saying that they need assistance with the, increase in the dues.
The $50.
Before they were handling the $100, but now they are saying they cannot handle the
And I
$50.
had a member said that they would pay one of the persons $50, she called the other day.
Okay, so board members, we've got 3, and that's all that we've had after all the discussions that we've had, so we want to limit it to that going forward, with those 3 and find a solution for those 3. I think the main thing is they will pay the first 100.
Right.
There is some assistance, you have one taken care of, I thought there was 1 or 2 more that were taken care of.
Yeah, there was, on Facebook, I've tried to reach out to the one, but they're traveling right now, but I think there's another person that will offset one of those. So we probably just need one other person.
So we're gonna do the replacement keys this year.
That I do agree with, but what do y'all think about the replacement keys?
Well, look, we're in the middle of 2 things right now, so let's finish up the
That was
financial
before
stuff.
we start talking about it.
Well, we got into this and you didn't
Okay.
bring that up, so let's take care of this. Can we handle the financial burden? We've got 1 left, is that correct?
Right, so
So-
we need to see if someone would be willing to help out or
We'll find one to take,
sponsor that person.
yeah,
on
we'll get a
us.
couple of us we'll get that.
Yeah, we would.
Okay, so that way it's not a burden on any of the rest of the members. It's taken care of outside of the board and the people that are paying memberships. Does that seem fair? Okay, so we're good with that? We don't really need to take action on that?
No.
I don't believe, so.
Let me know what my part is. I'll chip in on it.
Okay. Carrie?
So we're gonna do no replacement keys this year? Is that what the board made, or the board
There's a,
make a
there's a,
motion on
there's a,
that?
there's a healthy discussion on that, at this point, so. Any more discussion on the, discussion about, no replacement keys?
I think it's a hardship, you lose it, you lose.
Yeah, it's gone, it's gone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they're getting out and getting extra keys and, yeah, and other people in here.
Okay, so,
I belonged to another organization where there was keys, and if you lost your keys, they charged you $150 for a replacement.
but a lot of
Which would
people,
be the new member.
a lot of people are happy to pay that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's the problem there, so,
Our
okay,
fee
let's,
is $1 million.
let's move forward. Any more discussion, board members, on that, a concern for, against, or? So we'll entertain a motion then,
Motion to
okay?
not let anybody have extra key if they lose it. If you lose it, you're screwed.
I second it.
So we have a motion by Sammy and second by Charlie. Is there any more discussion on?
Under Tommy's,
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We will, now move on to some old business. Tommy, you wanted to do this real quickly, didn't you?
Yeah, project priorities, I went through and did a little survey, we had 12 people help me with it, in responses. And, some of the top, projects that everybody, seemed to vote for was,
This is board or membership voting? Sorry.
should have been board.
Board, okay, thank you.
The one that got the most votes was the remodeling of the clubhouse, this place right here. And then after that, we had, improved the boat ramp on the Swanee County side, which I think is in progress, right?
We're actually working with, management district.
And complete all the Wi-Fi, which we're doing, Charlie.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, then you go down a little bit further, and, I got remodeled the pavilion at Hoder Park and improved the boat ramp on the Columbia County side. So, yeah, that's the top vote getters.
Okay,
And,
board members, then, do you have a recommendation then?
Well, yeah, I recommend, two of them I recommend is this clubhouse and the pavilion. Because I think that would be something that would help the most of the people.
Okay, so the clubhouse, go ahead, Wayne.
I got a question, on the, boat ramp, you're talking about the boat ramp on Swanee County side, is that including the bathroom,
The
or is that
bathroom and
just
the
the ramp
door,
itself?
I think,
Bathrooms are been.
Whatever you want it to
and
include.
it's been approved, he's talking about work, get it done.
The primary part on the Swanee side, on the boat ramp, is that the boat ramp is not very efficient for boats coming down. They're having issues
Yes.
going off the side and creating issues with their trailers. To do that, we've contacted the management district and an engineer to get ready to see if we can get a permit or get some special exception to go forward to get that done. That's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
We initiated that back in the first of
These two, right?
December.
Okay.
So we're working that process because we know that needs to get done. That's been determined for a year.
But also, I know they had said that needs a new door, it's like a mobile home door or something.
I think we already,
Did you fix that?
No, they can still,
Boat ramp on Columbia
that
County
has
side, and
Tell
That's what I'm saying. I think it needs some attention.
Got a leak in the window.
okay, so the highest priority right now was this clubhouse, right?
no,
Okay, so with that being said, we probably need to go ahead and get, we'll have to have an engineer draw up anything that we're doing with the building. So,
committee.
so why don't we go ahead and get the maintenance and building committee to start that process, get that determined, and see if we can get a set of plans to get that done. I don't know who could possibly draw the plans. Do you, Hilda?
You can talk to him, you
Okay,
can try
so
to twist him
that's what your
around.
husband does, so we could start there, we need something that we can see, and then something that we can actually, get permitted.
That one over there currently does not.
And we wanna bring it back to the board for approval before we go forward with what we need to do.
I'm just saying, don't
Who
be
you want to be
standing
chairman?
for,
Tommy Matthews on that one.
wheelchair.
So Tommy says he will take it.
I think the committee should be at least 5 people. And any volunteers to join me
Yeah.
at the pavilion?
I'm
Sam
going.
is,
Glenn.
he's here. Who else?
Lynn said his name.
That's three.
I got,
Yeah.
who? Who'd you do?
Me.
Oh, man.
Glenn, Tommy,
Didn't
Sammy.
expect that.
Sammy.
I need 2 more.
What what's the big?
Clubhouse.
On the
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse design
You
and.
can draft my husband, I'm volunteering.
She's
David.
volunteering her husband, throw that down there. Okay, he's architect, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be.
Okay, I need one more. Anybody? Anybody got
Let's
a
go
little,
with that.
little bit of
We'll
construction?
I'll
grab-
help out with it.
Okay, Bill, we'll put Bill down.
Drive it through.
Okay, do you have anything else, Tommy?
So that's good for right now.
Okay, so why don't we do this, any board members have anything else?
I'm just, one question, is the bathroom, is that on the committee or on the list that you have, the Swanee County bathroom, or is it?
I made it general, and whoever's on that committee can include whatever they want. Bathroom, boat ramp.
So the committee will bring that back and determine exactly what it is that we need to
Because
do.
I'm sure they'll go there and research it.
Some of those items may not need to be permitted because of the
Yes.
dollar value, but some may.
Yeah.
I know this would need to be in any other buildings that we have,
Okay.
would need to be, so. Okay, anything else, board members? Then we'll just open it up to, the property owners, if anyone wants to address the board. Yes, ma'am.
I would just love to see the capital projects and just kind of what are the plans for improvement in parks at some point. What's the best way?
We
to
will
get
bring that, we'll bring that back to the board. The committee's gonna get together on that, so we'll do that. You weren't at the meeting when we were going through the list, I don't think.
No, it's very hard for me to get here.
Okay,
These are just priorities, people. I mean, we can still do the other things too, if we decide to do that, but.
I wish we could
But
do
this
like
committee-
the pavilion, the seating around it, maybe before spring
Yeah.
picnic.
it's gonna be a rush.
We gotta get busy, we got money, we gotta get these
Did you say
projects done.
screen it?
No,
No,
just
by
the
spring.
seating area
Oh.
around the pavilion, and that's actually probably gonna fall underneath the county's,
Spring,
cost, wouldn't you imagine, for permitting? Probably can get by with that. We can ask them, we can talk to Troy.
Would y'all like to, the ones that volunteered on my committee, would like to include that pavilion as part of our thought process?
Why don't we, on that committee, why don't we, do any kind of construction for that committee?
Okay, I'm only volunteering David for this.
Right.
That's all we'll need.
I
Okay,
only volunteered for one thing.
Yeah.
okay. All right, let me do this. The committees are in place. We have the one for, the, dogs. You know, I got a cat. My cat likes to walk with me too, so we need to include cats in that thing too.
Well, that could be a problem
So-
with the dogs in the house.
Okay, is there anyone that wants to address, the board? Yeah, Jim.
So a lot of members, like Barbara that was here, Miss Chorba that was sitting, she couldn't sit up, I imagine, they're really concerned because they didn't get an invoice, and they were waiting for that invoice to know exactly how much to pay, because they had heard the dues had gone up. And you have somebody like Mr. Garner here, who you sent his $100 in, but now a check will be returned to him. If he doesn't get that back by y'all's deadline, he's gonna have to pay another fee at no fault of his.
He won't have to pay
that's
it.
not true.
That-
I'll
That's
just
not
go
true.
ahead and
Gosh, you
cancel
make
that
it-
other check and write
If it is
another.
already in the works,
Yeah.
there is, in every, anyone that's a member of TREPO knows that January is the day, we do it.
Yeah, we're gonna err on the side of our members, so everything's good there.
No, we
Well,
are
my
not
check
out
was
to,
mailed out on the 12th according to my bank of
We've-
December.
and we've got all that, we would never
Okay,
try
let
to
me,
charge
it's
someone
getting kinda
extra.
late, you know? Is
Motion
there
to
anyone else
adjourn.
that wants to speak? Yeah,
I
Jason?
wasn't, so that was the thing, is like I said, a lot of the new members, there's a
Do you
lot.
know, do you know those people? Do you know the new members you're talking about?
Not all.
Okay, well, if you can reach out to those folks, and everything's online, so hopefully they can find that information.
They all should be receiving an invoice this week.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn?
I got one more.
We have one more thing, so we'll
Y'all
not
have a
accept that
meeting
motion.
on Valentine's Day.
I saw that, yeah. We put that down because that's customarily how it is, so. So is that truly Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Okay,
I celebrate it every day.
because my wife said Valentine's Day is every day, so I wasn't sure.
I don't say that, I don't want
So your
to.
meet, your
Oh, and I won't be here definitely, so somebody.
So what's-
can,
It's- What's the pleasure? Okay, is-
You
Would
won't
y'all-
have your
would-
financials
The
on
first week.
pardon me?
You won't have your financials on the first Tuesday.
That's correct, and we do need to meet because we got a lot going right now.
The first,
Why can't we do
Tuesday
like
would
this
probably
week?
make it. The first Tuesday would be the best way.
You know what I mean? Because
Does it have to be on a Tuesday?
Yeah,
It's supposed to be the
we're
second
probably gonna be
Tuesday.
better to do that because it's pretty much recognized it's Tuesday. We've gone between the first and second before, but like I said, the financial, we moved it because of the financials to the second Tuesday.
Valentine's?
Did my wife leave?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't either,
Are you gonna change it to February seventh?
I'm gonna tell her anyway, Glenn, so it doesn't matter.
1 week prior?
So we won't have
What's,
to-
what are the,
No, that's too,
No,
that's too
I'll
late.
put it to,
They do it on the weekend anyway, right?
Well, heck no. Well, you can go to dinner after the meeting, not if y'all talk till 9 o'clock.
well, let's get serious about this, Valentine's Day now, so, what's the,
The following Tuesday.
that's gonna be the 21st.
Move it on top of the other.
Yes, on top of the other.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we change the next meeting date from February 14th to February 7th.
We don't, you have the financials done?
We won't have the financials,
Why,
but,
why does that matter? Can't we just incorporate the financials?
we can do that.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit of time off there, on that part. All right, is everyone good with that? We'll just act on the consensus on that. Everybody good on the 7th? Yes, second the consensus. Okay, so that's what, the meeting will be on the 7th, all right? So Chairman says that. So we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? We have a second by James. Any discussion? We're adjourned.
Can you add that to the website?